Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Time with Junebug. That's me. And he was just taking a nap. But hello, Casey. Rocket's back and just bouncier than ever. Yes, you. I have toys to throw at him politely, and I have the water bottle in case he gets real itty titty with the outlets, because he has discovered he likes to try to lick them because he's that kind of guy. But anyway, thank you for the views on the shorts lately. I just decided to have fun with shorts, and why not? And by the views, I mean there's like 500 for each, and for us that's quite a lot. For other people that's nothing, but for us we're quite proud. But anyway, today we are going to cover the case of Jennifer Cave. Now, I think I stumbled upon her case when I was doing research for the yogurt shop murders, which I can obviously leave the little box to watch that if you want at the end of the video. And this takes place August 16th in 2005. Now, I always say the age of the victim in case anything with children bothers you, or if it's something that's your age. It just gives you maybe the heebie-jeebies a bit. But okay, so 21. I think, but I also saw in a couple different articles that said Jennifer was 22 or 24. I think she was 21, 22 though. And this takes place in West Campus, Austin, Texas. And this is a solved case, like 90% solved. I'll get to what the other 10% is later. And it's some of the most infuriating, it's one of the most infuriating parts. But I always start with some pop culture references in case you've heard of those and you now can correlate that to the case. So in 2008, a book called A Descent into Hell, The True Story of an Altar Boy, a Cheerleader, and a Twisted Texas Murder by Catherine Casey about the case came out. And then in 2011, a 48 hours documentary came out about the case. And in 2020, a 7-part podcast called The Orange Tree was published by The Drag, which I saw it may have been taken down. I'm not entirely certain, but it was from like a Texas university students did it. Now, Jennifer Ray Cave was born March 12th of 1984 in Nueces County, Texas, to Charles and Sharon Cave. I saw she had 2 sisters named Vanessa and Lauren, and 1 brother named Clayton. Now, I did not see nearly like anything about her upbringing. Not that she lived a super long life, unfortunately, but I didn't see much about the upbringing in general. Now, I do know her parents would later divorce, and her mom would marry someone named Jim Sedgwick. Although I saw in other articles that they were just like engaged at the time this happened, but I assume they eventually got married. And I bring up Jim because he is mentioned in this case. I did see that Jennifer attended school in Bishop, Texas, and moved to Corpus Christi in 2000. And she graduated from Carroll High School in 2002. Now, after she graduated from high school, she moved to San Marcos, Texas, to attend Texas State University as a finance major. But it was there at school she would meet a fellow finance major named Colton Aaron Petoniak. I assume that's how his last name's pronounced. If not, he don't deserve it pronounced right. And his maybe sort of girlfriend, Laura Hall. So Jennifer met Colton Petoniak and his maybe sort of girlfriend situationship, Laura Hall. And Laura was going for law at the school. And also, I do want to note, Colton was seen as this like squeaky clean, rising star, like football star from Little Rock, Arkansas. Like he was the boy next door, or I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like the perfect little boy, quote unquote. I think you know what I'm trying to say. It's just hard to put into words. The words aren't coming to me right now. People liked him, thought he was wondrous, yada yada. However, both Jennifer and Colton were struggling with the drugs and addiction. Like alcohol a little bit and just being addicted to drugs and substances. I don't know if Laura necessarily was. I'm gonna assume maybe, although that could be totally wrong. Now, I don't quite know the relationship that formed between Jennifer and Colton. It's different. It differentiates depending on the sources. but from what I could tell, it seemed to mainly focus on drugs, because Colton was the one who provided Jennifer with the drugs, unfortunately. Now, Jennifer's family would later say they knew about her drug addictions and how much she struggled with it. She would go through a constant cycle, it seemed like, of she would use the drugs, she would absolutely hate herself for it, she would like quit cold turkey, and then struggle immensely with like cutting cold turkey, and then she'd go back to using, and then it's just like was a large, hard cycle. And her family seemed to know about this. Now, I don't 100% know if Colton's parents knew. I did see that they knew, like, he had a DUI, I'm pretty sure, and he did go to rehab at some point, I think, but I don't know if they knew, like, the true extent. I don't know if they knew he was, like, still using drugs in college, but some sources say yes, one source said no. I'm gonna assume they did know, but don't quote me on it. Anyways, everyone's little backstory is covered. Jennifer would really struggle with that first semester of college, and so much so she ended up actually dropping out. Now, I saw she would work as a waitress in primarily Austin, Texas, and attend Austin Community College at the same time. Now, this is all happening in like a span of about 2 years. But on August 16th, 2005, Jennifer would go to a local law firm for a one-day filing job. I assume they just had a bunch of like stuff that needed filed, and they're like, we'll pay you for a day to just sort through everything for us. So she did that, and the firm was actually so impressed with her and liked her so much, they offered her a full-time position that day. And I saw a source that she would actually be a legal assistant, which, what a day. That's awesome. That's like movie material. Like, you go in for like this one-day filing job, you really need the money, and they're like, you're wonderful, you get a job, you're a legal assistant now. Like, it seems really cool. Now, she was obviously very excited about this. She told her family, she told some friends about her new job. She told her ex-boyfriend, because I think they were still friends. He gets mentioned here and there throughout the case. That's why I mentioned him. And that night, she was originally staying in to like get some sleep, start her new job in the morning. Because it seemed like she was like her life was beginning to turn around. But around 9:30 p.m. that night, she went out. And she went out with Colton to celebrate. I saw a source say that like he called saying he was having some troubles, or he needed help with his troubles, so he called her and she went to help him. I don't know if that's true, but she did go out with Colton later that night. They ended up meeting up with some of Jennifer's friends in downtown Austin, and they all had some drinks. I mean, fair enough to celebrate this awesome opportunity she got. But at some point, Colton would make a call to set up a purchase of cocaine. I originally saw it said 8 ounces, and I was like, holy shit, that's half a pound of cocaine. But then I saw another thing that said 0.8 ounce, like 0.8 of an ounce, and I was like, okay, that seems a bit more normal, quote unquote. Not as intense. It's not a half a pound of cocaine. Still more cocaine than you should be having, but not a half a pound's worth. Now, about midnight, the same night, the gang heads over to Cheer Shop Bar, which is a bar in downtown Austin, Texas. But before they go in, apparently Colton pulls Jennifer aside, and they are last seen walking east on 6th Street in downtown Austin. Now at 12:08 a.m., Jennifer's friend, Michael, he's not the ex-boyfriend, but just a friend, gets a call from her. It said that she seemed okay, and don't really know what the call was about. At least I didn't see what it was about. And about an hour later, Michael gets another call from Jennifer's talking about how Colton is drunk and he's angry and, quote, pissing on someone's car, end quote. Now, Jennifer didn't ask for help and said she didn't seem too concerned. The phone call was said to kind of abruptly ended. It doesn't sound like Colton was in the best mental state. I don't know about Jennifer, probably not with having some drinks. I don't know if they did the cocaine. I don't know when the cocaine comes into play. And unfortunately, this call to Michael from Jennifer would be the last time anyone would hear from her again. Now, no one knows exactly what happens next, But between 1 and 3:30 a.m., Colton would shoot and kill Jennifer in his apartment. Her body would be discovered the next day. Her body was discovered by her stepfather, Jim Sedgwick. The law office where Jennifer was supposed to be starting that next day called her mother saying she never showed up for work. And they ended up like searching around, like trying to call her. They couldn't get her. Found out she was with Colton the night before and tried calling him to see if he'd heard from her or knew where she was. And he told them to leave him alone. He was busy, didn't know where she was, leave him alone. Like, gave them the cold shoulder, was annoyed that they were asking. So they went down to campus to talk with him, Jennifer's mom and stepdad. But he wasn't there. And his car was there, but he was not. Now, they called the police because they were worried, but the police said they couldn't do anything without a search warrant, I think they said. So, as the police leave, stepdad Jim breaks into Colton's apartment and unfortunately finds Jennifer's body. And then they obviously called the police again, like, see, I told you. Now, Cave's body, Jennifer's body, was found in Colton's bathtub in rough shape. So this might get a bit descriptive, and I'm sorry for that. Now, prosecutor Bill Bishop would say, quote, "As far as murders go, this is a very clean murder. He shot her through the arm, bullet traveled into the chest, through the heart, pretty much killing her instantly. It was the post-murder behavior that made it so grotesque," end quote. And what he means by that is some of her limbs were cut off, and so was her head. She also had a ton of stab wounds that took place after she had been shot. There was a hacksaw lying on her stomach, and she had been shot in the head post-mortem. So very, very aggressive behavior after he killed her. Like they said, clean murder, and then he just went freaking ballistic on her body. Then it was revealed toxicology tests found alcohol, weed, and meth in her system. No cocaine. Again, don't know where that call about cocaine comes in, but no cocaine in her system. Now, many of you are probably wondering, where is Colton right now? He should be at the police station. Well, his good pal, sort of maybe girlfriend Laura Hall, had picked him up early that morning and drove him to Mexico. Because, you know, that's what friends are for. But luckily the police are obviously searching for him. It didn't take them too long to pinpoint that they probably should be looking for him. And don't worry, they did find them both 5 days later at a Holiday Inn on the border. They didn't make it very far. Kind of stupid. I mean, it works out for the police, but they were still on the border, just at a Holiday Inn. I guess living life. Now, Mexican law officials brought Colton and Laura to the border where Colton was arrested by US officials. And apparently Laura was just allowed to leave. So she left. She went back to the US, of course, but she was just allowed to leave while they arrested Colton. Now, that same day, Colton was charged with murder. Now, nothing really happened until September when Laura was arrested. Because, again, the legal system does seem to be quite slow, especially in more modern times. Now, Colton's trial wouldn't actually begin until 2007. Now, his defense was he was so blacked out on drugs and alcohol that he had no idea he killed her or did any of those things to her body. He said it was an accident and he would never purposely do anything to his quote-unquote best friend, as he called her. But when pointing out the mutilation of Jennifer's body, which was a lot, and also the fact that he ran away to Mexico, they were pointing out that it kind of truly showed how he felt towards her, that they weren't the bestest of friends, to put it lightly. Eventually, Colton and his lawyers would kind of throw Laura under the bus and say she did the killing and the mutilating. Or I saw in some case that Colton was like, sure, I killed her, but then Laura did all the mutilating, tag team effort, whatever. Even though there was not a drop of Laura's DNA at the crime scene. Now, for more like technical legal jargon about the trial, because Believe it or not, I'm not an expert with all those legal terms. I try my darndest, but a lot of you probably know more. I'm gonna leave a link to an article where I found a lot of the information about like a bit of the breakdown of the trial. So I'll leave that below if you want to read more into it. Now, on Monday, January 29th of 2007, so his trial did seem to go pretty fast. Colton was convicted of murder, and he is actually 24 at this time. I do want to say it only took him about an hour and a half to find him guilty, which I feel like in today's terms, that's pretty fast. Heck, even back then, cases we've covered that are old, that's still pretty fast. But that same day, he was sentenced to 55 years in prison and would be eligible for parole after half his sentence has been served. So he'll be around 51 when he's eligible for parole. I think this was the max they could give him, I think. Now, also in 2007, because Laura wasn't part of Colton's trial, like in a sense she was, but she's having her own trial now. She was convicted with tampering with evidence and hindering the arrest of Colton. Now, she was sentenced to 5 years for tampering and 1 year for the hindering. And these sentences could be done concurrently. So she would just have to serve basically 5 years. Now, I'm gonna talk about Laura for a little bit because it's a bit back and forth from here on out. So she's convicted, but then later, on February 19th of 2009, so 2 years into her sentence, the Texas Third Court of Appeals ordered a resentencing, and it was ruled her sentence was unfair and she was released on bond. I don't know what about it was unfair. I didn't see that detail, but they thought it was unfair, so they released her. Okay, but in 2010, she was resentenced to the maximum possible penalty. So 10 years for tampering and 1 for hindering. She was also ordered to pay $14,000 in fines, but she would get 2 years credit from serving like back in 2007 to 2009 added. So she only had to serve like 8 more years. And she would stay in prison. There's no more in and outs, but she was denied parole in 2011 and 2014 that I saw. There may have been other tries, I didn't see them. But she was released on parole March 15th of 2018. And she was on parole until the end of her sentence in August of 2018. Which at that point, I don't know why they just didn't keep her in there till August. To Laura, it probably means a difference, but I'm like, what's the difference between 5 months? I mean, just keep her in there. And I saw that she kind of keeps a low profile now, which I can understand, but she still lives in Texas from what I saw. And I saw it was mentioned she was spending time with an ex-partner. Don't know if that's Colton. It just said ex-partner in the article I found. Now for the aftermath. I kind of covered Laura just now with her back and forth. It kind of just was easier to wrap it all up at once. But let's get into Colton. So Colton is still currently serving his time in the memorial units at 59 Darrington Road, number 59 in Rosharon, Texas. I saw he has tried to appeal a couple times with no avail. They're like, no, he's staying there, which I'm glad. Now for Jennifer, unfortunately, since she unfortunately was murdered by stupid ass Colton, her visitation was held on Monday, August 22nd of 2005, and her funeral was held at the All Saints, Episcopal Church on Tuesday, August 23rd of 2005 as well. And she was buried in a private ceremony. A tiny, teeny tiny silver lining of this is the Jennifer Cave Act that came from this. So in 2007, it became a felony to desecrate a human corpse instead of just a misdemeanor. It also offers jurors counseling after seeing graphic images during a trial. So if they need help after going through a trial, just seeing that can be a lot. They can now have help. And this is due to Jennifer's mom. She really fought to have this pushed. And I'm gonna try to include a clip here about it, like a little news clip.
After Jennifer Cave's murder, her mother was determined to begin a journey of healing, one of hope, not just for herself, but for others who would suffer the same kind of soul-crushing loss of a loved one. And that journey brought her here to the state capitol, where Jennifer's death ended up changing Texas law. She was shot, stabbed.
They did these things to her body.
Mutilated.
To lose somebody and then have them dismembered is really just almost more than some people can bear. I have never seen the pictures of the crime scene.
No.
It has been deemed that for my mental health, that is not a good thing.
For Sharon Sedgwick, finding out what was done to her daughter's body overwhelmed her. And another shock, when she discovered desecration of a corpse was just a misdemeanor in Texas.
Immediately after we got out of trial, I started trying to find out what you had to do to get a bill passed. Juan Garcia was the state rep then, and he listened to my story and he took it on.
The insult upon the family is so overwhelming and so soul-crushing that we thought tampering should be lifted to a felony.
Former State Representative Juan Garcia co-authored the Jennifer Cave Act and asked Sharon to testify about Jennifer's death in front of lawmakers.
You could hear a pin drop. That resonated for everyone in that room, for the entire legislative body, and in a way that doesn't happen very often. It's an issue that cut across all partisan lines. There's nothing Democrat or Republican about respecting a family in the aftermath of the murder of their child.
In 2007, Governor Rick Perry signed the legislation that made desecration of a human corpse a felony. It also offers counseling to jurors subjected to graphic images or testimony during trial.
And I do want to mention this act is only in Texas right now. It's not like a nationwide thing or anything. It's in Texas. Each state obviously is going to be different if they perceive the desecration of a corpse is like a felony or a misdemeanor. And that is it. The sad case of Jennifer Cave. Now I do want to say, because I said it's 90% solved, like we know it was Colton. The 10%, like we don't really know why Colton did it. Like he's never said why. He still seems to think it was, he just doesn't remember it. He says he did it because he was drunk, drugged out. He didn't mean to do it. But I don't know what his motive would be. And I don't think anyone has really figured it out. Either way, they lost Jennifer and she was gone too soon. She had this amazing opportunity. She was excited to start her new job the next morning, and all that was taken from her by stupid Colton. But let me know what you think down below. I was too little to really remember this in the news. If you remember it, let me know, like how you were perceiving it when it was coming out on the news. And thank you for tuning in to another True Crime Time. And I do know what I'm doing next. It's a bit of a well-known case. Well, I knew what it was, so that usually says something. But thanks for watching. I hope you have a good day, and bye.